You know, everybody wants to be cool with me now because I get to hang out with Dame and John. We got our Shark Tank deal.
Sure.
We're making, good money with the app, and, I own property, and we go and have these nice parties on my birthday, and we get to rent out a venue for 400 people on Shark Tank watch parties.
The byproduct of hanging out with you is they get good food.
Yeah, and they get good food and good drinks, and we get a bottle at Mayfair now and then. Like, cool, that's great. But then when I was homeless, and I was sleeping in my car, and I was
where were they then?
Deli. I was eating rotisserie chicken out of the deli section of Walmart. These people weren't texting me every day. They weren't hitting me up much. So I just keep that in mind. These are the people who really ride for me for the reasons that are valid versus for self-serving purposes.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the Finding Good podcast. Here we dive deep into conversations with remarkable people who have found success in life despite all of life's myriad challenges and found good on the other side. Based on 3 tenets defined in my best-selling memoir, Finding Good, these individuals have been positively selfish, surrounded themselves with good people, and more than anything, done their part to make this world a better place. My name is Mike Thompson, and this is Finding Good. All right, my friends, welcome to the Finding Good podcast. My name is Mike Thompson. I am incredibly excited about my guest today. He is a hustler by definition, in a good way, a mover and shaker, and most recently has taken the running world by storm, especially here in Austin where our studio is located. His name is Destin George Bell. He recently received a $150,000 investment from the fine folks at Shark Tank. And he's here to talk a little bit today about his life and how it ties into the Finding Good mentality, which is to first and foremost be positively selfish. Second, surround yourself with good people. And third, and most importantly, leave the world better than you found it. He embodies each of these tenets perfectly. And that is why I am thrilled to welcome to the Finding Good podcast my good friend, Destin George Bell. Welcome, man.
My guy, appreciate you for having me.
This has been such a crazy season of life for you, I feel like. And we're going to cover a lot of things today as Dash, our studio mascot, makes himself comfortable. I am just so impressed by you. We're going to cover cardio. We're going to cover some challenges that you've overcome in your life, most recently an illness that left you in the hospital for 3 days. But right out of the gate, I want to hear about your experience on Shark Tank. One of the viral clips that I saw was Lori Greiner when she said, talking about your hustle and your energy, she said, the dream is free, but the hustle is sold separately. And I thought that was perfect because it just showcases your energy, your work ethic, and your ability to build something from the ground up. So just really briefly, what was it like? Tell me about the Shark Tank experience now that you can actually talk about it.
Yeah, now the seal is broken, man. They had me sworn to secrecy. I was walking around the streets with a red dot on my head, making sure I didn't say anything before it was live. So now that I can actually talk about it, it was crazy. It was surreal. I've been waiting my entire life, I felt like, to be on that stage. Since I was 10 years old, I've been watching the show. When I was 16, I realized for the first time I could actually be on it. Up to that point, from like 10 to 16, I felt like it was this thing that was this lofty, unachievable thing. You had to be like some kind of mogul, famous, rich, successful person. It was around 2014, I watched an episode where there was a kid who was a little bit younger than I am now, who was on there with his mom, and I realized, oh crap, I could actually be on the show.
With my mom.
Yeah, with his mom too. And I was like, dang, he ain't no better than me. I could be on the show. And so 10 years I spent thinking about how I could possibly be on it. And that wasn't like a thing I thought about actively every single day. I didn't even apply to be on Shark Tank. They actually reached out to me to be on, which is the funny part a lot of people don't know. I didn't even apply. They reached out and said, yo, we heard about your app and it's really dope. And we've seen you speak and you have a lot of personality and charisma. And we would love for you to be on the show if you would be interested in going through the process with us to be on it. So it was a process. That was a 2-month process for me to even get on camera, of all these background checks and verifying information about the business and getting to know me, making sure that I was good on camera, making sure that I'd be able to handle the pressure of being on there. You got to talk to psychologists. You got to do a lot of stuff to get on. And then you go. I filmed in June, even though the episode didn't air until October. I filmed all the way back in June. And so for that 4-month period of me knowing that I got a deal, I had to sit here and say, oh my gosh, Shark Tank is so cool. You should be. I even had people during that time say, you should be on Shark Tank. I'm like, yeah, one day.
Yeah, that sounds like a
that
good
would
idea.
be great. Maybe
Shark Tank.
sooner than you think. But you have to sit there and just have this sworn seal of secrecy around it. and you can't really talk about the details. And even after it airs, there's a lot of things you're not allowed to talk about. They don't want you to talk about like the specific process of getting on. They don't want you to get too in the weeds about, what exactly goes on post the show airing and the production. But it is a full-fledged production. I mean, I was in there for an hour. Obviously, the episode itself is cut down to be like 10 minutes, but I was in the tank for about an hour. And there is no fanfare. You don't have your lower thirds popping up for you. There's no music. No. You're literally in there with the sharks. You got producers, the cameras. You can see like some of their, handlers and whatnot in the back. But you're in there by yourself. They're not playing any music. They don't play the walk-in music when you're going down the hall. So you're just there by yourself. There's no lower thirds popping up. There's no dramatic zooms or anything like that. You're in that room by yourself for however long it takes, and you're just going through the motions with them in a normal conversation the same way I would be with you.
And at that point, you're on the show, you're featured. You don't know anything about whether or not they're going to invest. I mean, is that real? Like when you're going through your pitch, is that the moment when they're deciding whether or not they want to invest in your company?
Yeah, they don't know anything about your company when they get there. They know the name. They get like a one-liner. Sure. They can see the stuff that you have propped up. Some people, especially if they have a physical product, they'll have the props and all that on the stanchions. And obviously they'll have like the poster boards and whatnot there too. But outside of that, you got nothing. Like they don't know anything about you. They've never heard of you. They've never seen your stuff. They don't get briefed. You're going out there and they have heard of you from that moment. And none of it is scripted except for that monologue. That first monologue that you hear with people when they say, hey, sharks, I'm from here and this is my product and this thing sucks and this is why my thing is better. And would you like to get out of the Shark Tank and come to the cardio streets with the cardio crew? That part is extremely scripted. They go through that 10 times a day with you before you go out there. To the T. But outside of that, you are very literally thrown to the sharks. At that point, there is no scripted anything. They could love it. They could hate it. They could make a joke out of you. They could sing your praises. They could make a deal. They could not make a deal. There's nothing really that happens after that monologue that is prepared.
That is such a fascinating process to me because as someone who regularly speaks to different audiences in different capacities, the audience is there to gain something from you. In this scenario, you're there to gain something from the audience. And it's, a handful of people that are wildly successful in their own industries and endeavors. And so I can't even imagine the anxiety and just it's got to be exciting for sure, but also just the nervousness that comes along with like, I've got to get this pitch right. I've invested everything into this company. It's my baby. I want it to be successful. And I'm certain that there are, companies out there that have gone on Shark Tank that haven't gotten investments from the sharks that have gone on to be successful. But in this case, I'm sure that you were worried, like, if I get an investment, that's going to put me in a better position to continue this company, not only monetarily, but reputation-wise.
Yeah.
So how did you overcome that fear, that anxiety, that, early nervousness of like, there's no fanfare, there's no music. It's me with 5 people who are very successful and they're going to pick holes in my narrative. How did you overcome that?
I got to be honest with you, Mike. I'm going to be really forthright and real. There really wasn't a lot of nervousness, honestly. I went in there unbelievably confident in what I had because I know I got some cool shit. And I also know all of these people. I've been watching the show since I was this high. Yep. So I knew exactly what was going to happen. I knew Mark Cuban was going to ask me that. I knew Mr. Wonderful was going to say this. I knew Damon John was going to ask that. I already knew going into it.
You prepared.
Yeah, I've been literally 10-year overnight success type thing. I had prepared for this moment. Yep. So much. All the presentations, all the investor pitches, all of the product demos, all of the Q&A, all of the due diligence I had done with other investors before I had already gotten there, all the research I had done on the sharks, all of the episodes I had watched and saw how this person got broken down by this question, or how this person wasn't able to negotiate valuation very well, or how this person wasn't witty with the response to this, or how this person didn't know his CAC. And I knew all that. So in my opinion, to me, nervousness is a reflection of lack of preparation, but I'm always prepared. If you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. So I'm always ready.
It's obvious that your preparation and confidence is what's led to the early successes of cardio. And it's nothing short of impressive. And using that as a pivot point to dive into the 3 tenets of finding good, first and foremost, to be positively selfish. My definition of that is focusing on what you need to be whole focusing on what you need to be 100% so you can give 100%. It's the oxygen mask of the airplane concept where they tell you to put your mask on before helping others put theirs on, so that you're not a detriment to the plane. If you pass out, you then become a liability. In life, I think it's the same way, where if you're not operating at 100%, then people around you, your company, your work, your play and your free time, your leisure time can suffer. What are the things that you do to stay positively selfish? For me, I know that I have to exercise at least once per day. I get, the dopamine hit, the adrenaline, the endorphins that come from working out. I feel sick, physically sick if I don't work out at least once per day. I love food, so I have to eat something, tasty per day. I eat almost every single day a Honeycrisp apple because I love them. They taste good. I know they're good for me. So what are those things? What are those non-negotiables for Destin George Bell that keeps you positively selfish?
Yeah, a couple of things for me. For one, I've really fallen in love with the game of chess. Like, I try to play one game of chess a day, even if it's just against a bot. I just enjoy playing chess. It is a lot like business to me. It's all these multi-game theories of this move and that move.
Strategy.
And thinking about all the different permutations and combinations of moves. It keeps my brain sharp. I just enjoy playing it with friends, against random people on chess.com, against bots. I go to chess clubs. I try to play at least one game a day. Working out too. I like to run, obviously. I like to go to the gym, even things like yoga and boxing and whatnot. I just like to do something active. Like you said, I get the dopamine hit, I get the sweat. And then I also have a lot of competitive internal fire and rage within me. Sure. And I feel like that's a way, just like business is for me, like winning and dominating my competitors makes me feel good. And sports and athletics is a lot like that. So I enjoy that process. I like something difficult and a challenge where there's a winner and a loser, and I like to come out on top. That's enjoyable for me. And I also really like film and TV shows, dramas and series. So not every day, I don't get to every day, but when I can make the time. Like I'm a big fan of Arcane, so I was just finishing that up on Netflix this week, actually, while I was in the ER, actually. So
we'll talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. So I try to find stuff that I get enjoyment out of that is specifically for enjoyment purposes. Not everything has to have a real tangible ROI to it. Most of the things I do on a daily basis are ROI based. I'm real analytical like that. I look at things as an input and an output. Sure. But sometimes everything doesn't have to have a real output. Sometimes the output is just enjoyment, which is a lot like cardio, a game.
And you can't quantify that. It's just having it be there, is valuable. Sometimes
enjoyment is the ROI. Sometimes everything doesn't have to be a financial reward or a way to position yourself somewhere else. Sometimes you just enjoy things for the sake of enjoying it. I have this conversation with people all the time. Like, why do people care about stealing turf on the app? It's like, well, is it enjoyable? Like, yeah. It's like, well, that's it. That's all that's required.
That's all you need.
That's it.
I've always been interested in that from a business perspective of everyone is KPIs and ROI and all these acronyms that we made up to track data and metrics. But sometimes it's really just as simple as, crossing the line of, I just want to enjoy this. We don't have to analyze the metrics here.
I'm a data-driven decision guy.
Yeah, okay.
But I'm also a vibes guy. I'm a vibes guy.
Just to the listeners out there, since I've been honing in on the 3 tenets of finding good and talking to people about what makes them positively selfish, you are the first person that uses chess. So kudos there.
Shout out.
It's something that I've never gotten into just because I've never taken the time to truly understand it. But I also like the strategy, and the confidence of it. So that's still on my bucket list to become a master chess player. So that's a perfect time to talk about what happened most recently with little illness that you had. And I want to bring that up mainly because you've been go, go, go. I mean, since I've met you, 2-3 years ago, you're always on the move. You're always doing something, whether it's for cardio, whether it's for yourself, personal fitness goals. And it seems to me that you're easily able to, stay fit and healthy, but it's you. You are the founder and CEO of cardio. You are the one that went on Shark Tank to earn that investment. But you recently had a little illness. Tell us about the illness and also, what that was like for you to kind of have to step back and say, I don't feel up to it right now. I don't have time to play chess. I'm literally in the hospital battling through something.
Yeah, it was crazy. So the last couple of weeks, especially post Shark Tank, I've been, extremely busy. A lot of speaking engagements and new opportunities. I mean, even, like other TV shows reaching out to me and wanting me to audition for their shows
The
and stuff
Shark
like that.
Tank watch party.
Shark Tank watch party we had at the Austin Marathon headquarters, and new users and new challenges that come with that, new investments. Going out and I actually was with Damon John and Rashawn Williams, the two sharks we closed with in Atlanta a couple of weeks ago, talking to them about some business stuff and hanging out. And just traveling a lot to conferences. TRE was just a week ago. Yep. I was just in Florida with my girlfriend and her family for Thanksgiving. So I've pretty much just been nonstop go, go, go. Not a lot of sleep, not a lot of rest. And I had been feeling very sick throughout that whole process. But, there's no time for sickness in the business of success. So I was just focused on that. And then Monday, really even Sunday, I got on a plane from Florida. I was flying home, and I just had the worst headache I've ever had in my entire life. For 3 hours in the plane. At first I thought it was a pressure thing, like, maybe my ears are clogged.
Normal travel.
Yeah, like, cause I get, when you got congestion in your sinuses, you get on a plane, altitude shifts, pressure changes, it causes a lot of issues. Yep. I never liked that, but I had experienced that before. And by the time I got off the plane, I felt fine. So I felt like I was good. Go to sleep, chill, whatever. I'll wake up 7 a.m., about to get to business. And I have the absolute worst headache I've ever had in my life, like crippling, nail biting, ear splitting pain, like having an ice pick.
Anything but that. Yeah.
Having an ice pick shoved into your brain for like 12 hours straight, to the point I said, I can't take it anymore. I tried to power through it. God. I can't do it. I had to go to the ER, and I was in the ER. They had admitted me in the hospital. I was there for 3 days, and they said the sinus infection had just been building over like a month's time that I had never treated because I was just so busy. I never got the rest or took medicine, and then eventually turned into a severe sinus infection that spread into my brain, and I literally had brain inflammation. So I had to get CT scans, MRIs. They had me on morphine and all types of drugs I had never even heard of. I was in the hospital for 3 days.
And you said that was the first time you'd ever been hospitalized?
First time I've ever been hospitalized my entire life.
Incredible.
Ever. Never in my life I've ever been hospitalized like that before.
And you're good now? You're back to...
Yeah, I'm relatively
easing back into it?
Yeah, I'm easing back into it. It takes a lot to put me down. It's going to take a lot more than a sinus infection to put me down.
We're shooting this podcast in early December right now, so you guys can understand the timing of it if you're listening or watching. What, in the instance, and I think about this a lot as an entrepreneur and business owner, is what happens when you're sidelined. You oftentimes have to rely on people that you surrounded yourself with. What's the staff like at Cardio right now? Is it just a one-man show still?
So we got a 5-man and woman team.
Yep.
So we have a great team. And they held down the fort. They were extremely nervous that I was not going to make it for sure. But we made it. We survived, obviously, and the team made it. And most important thing, Cardio survived.
There you go.
Again, if the company couldn't survive without me for 3 days, and we have way bigger fish to fry.
100%.
But, we're good. We have a great team. I surround myself with good people. I recognize if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I have kept that core tenet from your book and also just in life, something very core to my philosophy about my group. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room. Smartest guy in the room, there's not a lot of growth to be had. So I like to seek information and knowledge and expertise from other people. I've got a guy on my team who handles our growth. He's smarter with the marketing and the CAC and CPI and how we run ads on different things like App Store search optimization and SEO and Meta and Google. He knows that better than me. I got a guy who handles our content. I got a lady who does our engineering. I got a guy who handles our back end development. And these people are all experts of their field, and they know how to do their job better than I know how to do their job. And luckily, we have the systems in place that even when I'm not there, it's like, what would Destin do? And they can do their job without me being there.
WWDW.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So they know how to do the job. Now, of course, I don't think anything can run as well without me versus if I was there. But it's not about doing 100%. If the company can survive 85, 90% of where I'm at. Because I just realized as my brand grows, as the company grows, I can't be everything, you know. A lot of people in Austin know me as the cardio kid. They know me. I run around with the cardio stuff. I'm raising, my voice to the high heavens saying, download my app, try it out, this, and that. But I recognize that Austin is just one out of, 750 and 78 countries that uses my app.
It's incredible.
I went out of the country for the first time last year, and we have 78 countries that use my app. I got people who send me customer bug alerts and reports who don't even speak English, and I have to Google Translate what they say to know. The company's bigger than me. Now, the biggest moment for me to realize how big it was, I went to an Austin FC game for the first time earlier this year. And one of the guys who went there uses my app. And he's like, yo, man, is it crazy to you to think that there's 22,000 people in this arena? And that's how many people use your app? I'm like, yo, I never really thought of it that way. Yeah, I never really thought of it because 22,000 by the grand scale of apps is not a meaningfully large number. But when you actually see 22,000 people in a room, and to think that is the amount of people who use an app that I started when I was living in my car homeless 4 years ago. It's a crazy feeling. It's very surreal.
That's incredible, man. Just thinking about that. And numbers always fascinate me. If you look at the lottery, the nationwide, the Powerball, when it gets to be, over 100 million, well, then you have more and more people that are getting lottery tickets.
Of course.
But $1 million is life-changing money. Half of
a lot of people, $100,000
right.
is a lot.
And yet, like, more and more people are like, oh, now you're buying lottery tickets because it's almost $1 billion pot. Like, well, where were y'all when it was $1 million pot? Like,
right. Like you couldn't use $1 million?
Right. Yeah. The chances, the odds are still the same. So it fascinates me, but that is a really good way of looking at it. You could fill the entire Q2 stadium of Austin FC with the amount of users you have at cardio. That is just mind-boggling. You brought it up, so I want to talk about surrounding yourself with good people, which is the second tenet of finding good, is to surround yourself with good people. And that means just as much of finding the best people to guide you and to keep you at your selfishness at 100%, but to also distance yourself from people that don't have value in your life or don't add value to it. And you talk about your team of 5, your engineer, your marketing people, but talk about your life in general. Who are the people that have carried you to where you are? Obviously your mom, your girlfriend, those are obvious ones. And I want to talk a little bit about your mom because I have a very close relationship with my mom, and she carried me through 5 cancers and 90 surgeries and 2 bone marrow transplants and 6 years of addiction. Moms are just incredibly powerful. But tell me a little bit, like, what does your circle of influence look like?
Yeah, ladies in my life are really big for me. My mother, obviously, she was with me on the Shark Tank episode. At a younger age, as rambunctious, as hyperactive as I am now, I used to be way worse when I was younger. And a lot of people...
We all were.
Yeah, I mean, it's how life works. You're supposed to hopefully mature as you get older. And so when I was younger, I had a lot of... I won't even say issues. I was just different. I didn't really understand the system. Like school never mattered to me. I was a straight C and D student my entire career, K through 12, and even in college, because school was never something that aligned with me. I would get a 30 on my ACT, but then I would fail art because I didn't really care about schoolwork. I was smart and I knew I was smart. Right. I liked to make money. School didn't make me no money. So I just never cared. And a lot of people wrote me off as being dumb. They even tried to put me in, like the special education classes when I was younger, assisted learning. They said I was slow. They said I wasn't, as smart as I would. A lot of people thought I would be a statistic, young male of darker complexion who came up with a lot of friends who were not always the most altruistic of people. And a lot of people thought I would end up a lot like that. My mother was one of the only people when I was younger, before I started really accomplishing things, that believed in what I was doing and that it was worth investing in. Where I was bringing home these report cards with a 1.5 GPA, but I was out every day cutting grass and shoveling snow, and I was, writing essays for people, and I was coming up with these business ideas. She focused on that, and everybody focused on the report card. And that's why I loved her, and that's why I have loved her, and that's why I will continue to love her, because she has always been the person who has believed in me for the skill sets I've had versus the skill sets that I was told I should have. My girlfriend, obviously, she's a writer. We've only been dating, less than a year now, but you just have that feeling with people.
Yep.
You just know. To me, I find relationships to be more quality than quantity.
Yep.
There's a lot of people who I've met recently who I felt like have already become lifelong friends, and then I've had people who I've known since kindergarten who are proximity friends. Like if I didn't see them often, I wouldn't
acquaintances almost.
Yeah, they're acquaintances. They're just consequential friends.
Okay.
There are people who I've seen a lot and I see around, and they're not people who I would go out of my way to hang out with. I mean, it just really exemplified it when I moved to Austin, and now all these people who I grew up with who I don't see every day. Now I realize that a lot of them who I used to talk to every day was more of a proximity thing than the fact that I really needed them as friends. Whereas I got people who live on other countries, other sides of this country who I talk to daily, because these are the people who genuinely have my best interests at heart. And especially recently, I'm sure most of the people that you interview will have these same type of feelings. But as success starts to come, all of a sudden you're very popular and everybody wants to be friendly with you and offer you a drink the next time you come back in town, or want to get advice, or want to do this and do that. I just realized that, the people who I really need in my life are the people who have wanted to be in it, even when it wasn't necessarily advantageous for them to be around.
People that when the chips are down, they're still there. And you can rely on them.
Everybody wants to be cool with me now because I get to hang out with Dame and John. We got our Shark Tank deal. Sure. We're making, good money with the app, and, I own property, and we go and have these nice parties on my birthday, and we get to rent out a venue for 400 people on Shark Tank watch parties.
The byproduct of hanging out with you is they get good food.
Yeah, and they get good food and good drinks, and we get a bottle at Mayfair now and they're like, cool, that's great. But then when I was homeless, and I was sleeping in my car, and I was
where were they then?
Deli. I was eating rotisserie chicken out of the deli section of Walmart. These people weren't texting me every day. They weren't hitting me up much. So I just keep that in mind. These are the people who really ride for me for the reasons that are valid versus for self-serving purposes.
And you're how old?
26.
So, you're in that age. I'm 39. I'll be 40 this next year. And it's taken me this long to learn the quality over quantity is what's important. Yeah. And I did benefit from, in my early years of coming back to life after the cancer and then subsequent drug addicted phase, was I learned that the fewer people that I engaged with, the deeper that those relationships went. Whereas before, when I was trying to be everywhere and friends with everyone, I had these really surface level relationships that were valuable, but they just never got into a profound level of trust and loyalty. And I think that the maturity that you showcase, knowing that at such a young age, is powerful. And it's obviously showcased in your work, like what you've built with cardio, your ability to be confident going into a situation. It's not lost on me that your early awareness of that has set you up for success. And I think that's just so powerful. There's a book by a renowned researcher and thought leader, Adam Grant, called Originals. And in Originals, he talks about research of child prodigies, of kids that are just brilliant, geniuses from a really young age. And while they're quite adept at mathematics and science and really any STEM-related work, the work that they were engaging in was predetermined for them. So they weren't really adding anything new. They were just experts in what people had already found. Whereas students that didn't perform well on their report cards were the creators. They were the creative minds, the ones that were using their imagination to start something. And while there's certainly value in academia, I know this. I'm a individual that went to school late, finished my bachelor's degree at 32, finished my master's at 35. Now I certainly have a wealth of knowledge, but I took my life experience of having not gone to school, worked through different vocations in different industries, and applied that into my master's level education. It's helped me a lot, but it just goes to show that you don't have to follow that path of academia, go to high school, go to college, be in school for the first, majority of your life. You are proof that you can focus on creativity and ways to monetize and work and earn a living without having those degrees on the wall or what have you.
I think the power of where we're at today as a connected global economy with the internet at our fingertips is that this is the generation where more than ever creativity and ingenuity can create a career for you anywhere. I know people who make money doing the absolute dumbest stuff ever. People make more money than me doing stuff that is just obscenely stupid. Like even now in my head, before I started working on cardio, I had a business as a content creator. And I used to just make videos about NBA 2K online. And I got sponsored by the NBA and Old Spice, McDonald's. I was making like $10,000 a month talking about NBA 2K. Wasn't even really playing it. I was just talking about it.
And why aren't you doing that now?
Wasn't my purpose. I didn't want to be known as a guy who made kids laugh on the internet about a video game about better men playing sport. I wanted to go out and do something for myself that I could look at and say, yo, I made my money helping people be in shape and enjoy the process of walking and running and building something with my own two hands. It just legacy. The legacy of it was more meaningful to me. I feel like if you love the work you do, the money will always follow. It might take longer. It might not be as much, but I've never been a person. I think it's another thing that people don't really know. I think there's a lot of people that misjudge who I am as a person because they see me as this hyper energetic, very capitalistic guy, but money's not the most important thing to me. I enjoy the pursuits that I enjoy. I enjoy legacy. I enjoy helping people. I enjoy supporting positive habits out of people. And I find that doing the things that I love to do will always be more profitable in the end than doing something that is strictly for money.
You just gave me goosebumps. I mean, we're flying through these tenets faster than I thought we would, but you've been able to introduce concepts that apply to them. So I'm going to go ahead and go right into the third tenet and what you and I share, which is leave the world better than you found it. I want to talk about your fundraising campaign for sure, the Million for Million, but what you just said struck me because we live in this digital world, this content-driven world, and I read an article a few years ago that this young girl through probably OnlyFans or one of these money-making apps was selling her bathwater making millions of dollars from individuals who were purchasing little vials of her bathwater, and she was making a killing. And I thought, first of all, I'm not going to be the guy that films myself taking a bath and then selling that water and hopes that I'll make money. Yeah. But in my opinion and in my experience, it's always giving back. It's always leaving the world better than you found it in the form of uplifting others and providing opportunities that others may have not had. As a cancer survivor, I know that there were kids that passed away for no other reason than their disease was more severe or it just wasn't the right time for treatment for them. And it is my legacy to ensure that I'm living a good and proud life in their honor because they didn't have a chance to. Mm-hmm. But in the realm of success in life, it's my opinion and belief, and at least my conviction, that once you find success, it is crucial to give that success back. To me, that is the cycle of life, of living a life well lived. It makes me so happy to hear that while you could be giving critiques on NBA 2K, instead you've created something that not only brings people together, not only does it encourage people to be active, but you're bettering the world through your work, through fundraising campaigns. That's crazy impressive, Destin. I am over the moon happy to hear that you just got an investment from Shark Tank, and while you still are working hard to make cardio a success, you decide to give back. What's this Million for Million campaign that you have going on? Yeah, so again, with the Shark Tank, all this new press and users and interest, I figured the best thing that we could do as a company is catalyze that interest into having some meaningful call to action. And I figured that could be some big activation inside the app, some run club competition. But I figured if we could incorporate that also while doing some really good social good, that's a win-win for everybody. We call that the triple bottom line of making the world, the company, and my team better off for it. And so in my mind, I use the trail pretty consistently. Almost all the run clubs I'm a part of run it in some part of their loop. I go there all the time for my training for the halves and the fulls. I just, in general, just like walking it and running it. It's a staple of downtown Austin. And then I think the Trail Conservancy is a great nonprofit. And I figured, this is a great opportunity for me to use this new forum platform and opportunities that I've been given as a way to make the world a better place, the city of Austin a better place, by using this as a funnel for driving money towards, the crown jewel of Austin. So basically for the Million for a Million, it is a fundraiser we're doing. It's a 1,000,000-mile challenge during the month of January. Every mile run using cardio in the city of Austin is $1 donated towards the trail. Our goal is to raise $1 million for 1,000,000 miles, and that money is going towards repairing the bathrooms, new chilled water fountains, new respites, ecological restoration, funding volunteers to come pick up trash, getting ghosts to eat the poison ivy, new mile markers, new trailheads, lighting, better lighting, just overall making a better trail experience for the place that the majority of people like us walk and run pretty much daily or at least weekly. I mean,
this is actually new information I've got since I started working with the trail and their team. But the Lady Bird Lake Trail gets more visits every year than the Grand Canyon, and 15 million miles is covered on it every single year. And a place like that obviously gets a lot of traffic, and it's a public park. Sometimes it doesn't get the care it is. I go down there and I see wrappers left around. I see, unfortunately, not enough fountains. I've had to use the bathroom a couple times and decided not to. And then lighting, especially at late night, early in the morning, is not great. And I figured this is an opportunity for me to do some good for cardio, get users on the app, give them a reason to try it out, but then also, make the city and the walking and running experience in it a better thing for everybody.
So for those of you listening and watching at home, as a born and raised Austinite, I have a ton of pride for what this city embodies, from business and art to just lifestyle, and encouraging people to be fit and active. And the Town Lake Trail, which is now known as the Lady Bird Lake Trail, is this downtown crushed granite 15-mile loop with downtown skyline as the backdrop. And it really is where Austinites flock to pretty much year round, to walk, run, ride bikes, and really have conversations, walk around with coffee, whatever. And it is truly beautiful. And it's one of those, like you said, the crown jewel of Austin that makes this city so inviting, and such a great place to live. And so your desire to share that with others is remarkable. And I think it's going to go a long way, especially with this Million for Million campaign that you have going. So at the end of the episode, we'll put links to all of not only Destin's information, but how you can support the Million for Million campaign as well. I want to talk a little bit before we go about leadership. One of my favorite thought leaders who covers leadership is Simon Sinek.
Yeah.
And one of his concepts is...
It's a great... No. Ah, gosh. It just slipped my brain. Oh, my gosh. Why? Oh, my God. Why did I just forget?
Are you talking about one of his concepts?
Talk.
Or
yeah, TED Talk. I'm talking... Start with Why.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I don't know why.
Start with Why is a great book
I read that
he wrote.
Super long time ago. I can't
really great book.
At that. Yeah.
No, it's fine.
It's a great book.
He's written a lot and he does a lot of content. But one of Simon Sinek's concepts is, as a leader, it's not about being in charge. It's about taking care of the people in your charge.
Yeah.
And good quality leaders, and Brene Brown talks about this a lot too, is not only being courageous but being vulnerable. What are, as a leader, and you mentioned earlier that you don't want to be the smartest person in the room, which is also my philosophy. I want to surround myself with the brightest people. I certainly don't want to be the dumbest person in the room, but the people that I hire, my producer JB, my videographer Chris, my graphic designer Paul, all of these individuals are far better than I am at their respective jobs, but they're also quality individuals. And so it seems to me that through cardio, you've inspired at least 5 people on your team to be a part of it. But what does growth look like for cardio as you use this investment from Shark Tank, as the app continues to gain users left and right? How do you maintain your status as a quality leader, taking people in your charge without losing the magic that brought cardio together?
Yeah, well, I try to keep this attitude of being a servant leader. To me, I am just a cog on the wheel. I'm in charge, but at the same time, I'm not above doing janitorial work in the business if I have to. At the end of the day, I make these big executive decisions and I go out there and I raise the money and I build out these big campaigns like the Million for a Million campaign and whatnot. But I also am out there at the expo every time the Austin Marathon comes, and I'm out there talking to people every single day, one by one, about cardio and explaining them the product. And I'm going out there and I'm handing out flyers. I've gone out Lady Bird Lake and I'm just literally, like, even when I first started the app, I would just have a booth. I'd have a table set up there and I would just hand people free water for them to just explain to them the app and how it is and all that.
Getting the word out.
Yeah, getting the word out. I'm not above
grassroots guerrilla marketing.
Yeah, dude, I'm not above anything. I think a lot of people get the CEO title really wrong. They think it's this big ego play that you're just above everything. And maybe if you're running a $1 billion franchise, maybe you are. But for me as a startup, we're fighting for survival every day. There's nothing I'm above doing. I will send an email directly to individual users about bugs that they've had. And I'll also go and talk to Damon John about our next $1 million fundraise and how he can support that process. I've talked to billionaires. I've talked to 7-year-olds who've complained about the app. I'll talk to anybody. I'm not above anything at all. I get, most of the time people talk to me about all the things that are wrong with it. That's pretty much my job, is getting the flag for things sometimes aren't even my fault. People will get mad at me about, product issues. I'm like, well, technically, I didn't write that code, so that's not my fault. But it is, because I'm the front-facing guy. Yeah. And I eat that. I go back to my team and say, hey, guys, we got to work on this. I take that front. I don't say, oh, my engineering team screwed this up. I apologize. I say, my apologies, my mistake. I messed that up. We'll fix this error. And, just being a servant leader, being willing to fall on the sword and carry the shield for your team, and holding that mantle of being a leader who also is willing to fall back into line when it's not his time to lead, I think is really important for a strong leader, especially as an organization grows, as you start creating legitimate departments and people have the ability to run themselves, giving them the leeway to do their own thing, not being a micromanager. Trusting the people you hired to do their job and not need to feel like you need to monitor their every single action and question their authority and expertise in whatever they think they should do.
One of the things that I've learned as a business owner, aspiring thought leader, is understanding when times are hard versus understanding when things are just not easy. Yeah. And you've mentioned a few times, both in our conversations and here on this podcast, about at one point you were living in your car. Now you're the CEO of a rapidly growing company. You're obviously famous. I think objectively people can say that. You hang out with billionaires. You were on national television and got an investment from the Sharks, which I think is what any aspiring entrepreneur would want. What keeps you humbled and grounded to, not forget that time when you were living in your car, eating chicken out of the deli from Walmart, to now, essentially, I would imagine, pretty much being able to snap your fingers and get something done. If you need to travel across the country or overseas, you have the means to do that. If you want to take time off with your lady and let the company go on its own, you can do that. How do you keep that humility there so that your attitude is in the right place, knowing, hey, things are difficult right now, but I'm not living in my car. Things are difficult right now, but I'm not in the hospital. What keeps you grounded like that?
I think my focus on the future. I'm a very future-oriented guy. I don't look back a lot. Looking back distracts from the now and also distracts from the future. I don't think too much about where I used to be, but I do consider it in terms of, hey, man, we used to be here and we're here now, a much better life situation. That's great. But think about where we could be. My goals are so much bigger than having a company with 30,000-ish people. I want 3 million people. I want to be able to sell this company to a large company for a 9-figure amount one day. I would like to be able to be in a financial position where no matter what happens with this company, I can do whatever I want. And getting cocky that I can go out and hang out with these, a billionaire here, or go and be on some TV show there, or go buy this or do that. It never really mattered to me, honestly. Like, my focus has always been legacy. There's a lot of people in my life who vicariously live through me. I know that. I recognize that. I got a lot of dead people who live through me, but not in the physical. A lot of them are dead because they just stopped following their dreams. And a lot of people look up to me.
Dead inside.
Yeah, man. They gave up on their dreams a long time ago. And I have people text me on a daily basis, say, man, just keep going. Like, stay focused. Keep moving forward. Focus on what you could be in your future. And I realize that this is not my magnus opus. I think that every accomplishment I ever have is my greatest accomplishment until my next accomplishment. I think the day is going to come.
Such a good way of looking at life.
Yeah, man. I think Shark Tank is going to eventually be something that doesn't even come up in like a blurb about myself anymore. I think it's going to be so inconsequential in the grand scheme of all the things I'm going to accomplish that I'm not really impressed by myself anymore. I'm not impressed by the things I've done because I just know in the grand scheme of them all, they're not impressive. Every time I've thought I'd done something impressive, I've always outdone it. When I moved to Austin, I was homeless. At that moment in time, the only thing that mattered was for me to get an apartment, and I got an apartment. And then it was for me to start a business, and I started a business. I made some money off that business, and then I made some smart investments, and then I bought a house, and then I bought a nice car, and then I got that Pokemon Go grant from the CEO of Pokemon Go, and then we got our first venture capital investment, and then I got a team, and then we got to 10,000 users, and then we got on Shark Tank, and then we got to do this, and then maybe we raise $1 million for the trail, and then we go and do this, and we hit 100,000 users, and then we get 1 million users, and maybe we get bought by Strava one day, and then all these things, and like, okay, that's cool. But this next one, boy, it's gonna be great. Yeah. I'm excited for the future. I'm so excited for the future that I just don't have time to really celebrate the present. I have my moment. Like at the party I had. It was cool. But next, I'm good.
That's that confidence you were talking about.
Yeah, man. I think getting caught up in your accomplishments that you've already accomplished is almost, to me, a sign that you feel like you can't top yourself.
You're done. It's almost like the Lowe's mantra of never stop improving. You know, keep looking for the future. That's that confidence you're talking about. I'm a big movie buff, and you know, one of my favorite rom-coms was my buddy Matthew McConaughey in How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, where he thinks he can get Andy Anderson, Kate Hudson to fall in love with him, and some of his coworkers were like, "Oh, that's cocky, man." He's like, "No, not cocky, confident." And that's the difference between being prepared and not being prepared. When you're cocky, you're not prepared. You just think things are going to come to you without getting any work. When you're confident, you know everything you need to make this project, this endeavor, a success. And I think that's what you've done in spades. I think it's just so impressive. And thinking about you being homeless to knowing what I know about you now is just so remarkable to me. And it truly is that coming of age tale of like, this guy looking at the future, focusing on legacy, has created this from the ground up, and he's just getting started. I think that's phenomenal. I'm a big fan of looking at things differently, and so I don't think of FOMO as fear of missing out. I think of FOMO as forward motion. There was a triathlon team by my friend, Carrie Barrett was the coach, and it was Team FOMO, and it was Team Forward Motion, always looking forward. And it seems, even though you said that you don't focus on the past, it's important to remember that at one point, this is what your legacy was. You were the guy living out of his car, didn't have a home. Yeah. It's so fascinating to have you here now and in this CEO leadership position. I can think of only good things happening for you in the future moving forward. Before we close today and continue on with our next endeavor, I've got a couple rapid fire questions that I just want to know a little bit more about Destin George Bell. So
ask away, my boy.
I want to run through these really quick. You mentioned that you like film and television.
Definitely.
What's your favorite movie or favorite actor?
Man, favorite movie is difficult. It really depends on my vibe.
And it doesn't have to be number one. You can give me.
I would say I have a two-way tie, honestly. Infinity War. Okay. I know I said like I'm a movie buff and I mentioned a Marvel movie, but Infinity War is just a great film across the board, pacing, character moments. It feels like truly like a season finale to a 10-year investment. And it's so well done. Thanos is one of the best written antagonists of all time.
Agreed. Josh Brolin.
Yeah, Josh Brolin. Guys, his VA performance on that was absolutely amazing.
I'm also a big fan of Jon Favreau. I think he's a tremendous director and producer.
Oh, yeah. Then, of course, I mean, I could say gushing things. I've seen that movie probably 12 times. I didn't know it worked.
I remember the excitement around it, and when they showed the live screening of the very first one after it was released in the premiere, how excited that crowd was.
I watched it first. I literally watched midnight Thursday when it came out, dude. I remember it was finals week, actually, when I was in college in 2018. And I was so depressed by the ending of it that I didn't even have it in me to study for my accounting final the next day. And then I failed it. But it was so worth it. It was so worth it.
We already talked about your academic record. We know that you don't need to be
that's not a new thing for me. It's fine. You know, you're going to talk to people like Gabby Thomas who, get on Harvard, valedictorians. That's not me. But Infinity War would be one of them.
Okay.
And then like completely 180, Birdman. I really love that film.
Okay.
It's, first of all, I just love the direction style. I love these like long one take type films. Yep. Like 1917, certain moments of like Children of Men. I like that style. Yep. I love this percussion drum score that it has. Yep. And then it's also just really well acted. And I love this thematic motif of this guy who is trying to be taken seriously, who's not been taken serious for his career, and he's trying to make this major pivot. He's going through this big existential life crisis about his purpose. It almost brings me to tears when I watch that movie. I love that film so much. I'm
almost in tears thinking about you being in tears. All right, moving on. Favorite music, song, or artist?
Ooh. I'm a big hip hop guy. Actually, you know what? I'm not even gonna say that. I'm going to say we're talking favorite song and artist. I'm going to get real nerdy. This is when people are going to get to deep cuts.
This is a safe space.
It's a safe space, man. Ludovico Einaudi. He is an Italian composer. I absolutely love him. His album In a Time Lapse is one of the greatest pieces of neo-contemporary work that has ever been put to music
The market.
as a whole. Yes, ever. And his song Experience, it is probably, in my opinion, the most beautiful piece of music I have ever listened to. Genuinely. I actually made a short film when Kobe died. I'm a big Kobe fan. For anybody wondering what this A24 tattoo is in reference to. But when Kobe died, I actually made a short film about what he meant to me, and I used Experience as the song for that. And it is my most played song of all time on Apple Music and on Spotify.
Every year, your Spotify Wrapped has that as the
it makes an appearance every year. I love that song. I love him as a composer. I just love his music as a whole. So I'll say him, honestly. He's great.
Great answer. Favorite cuisine or meal or food?
I'd say chicken fettuccine with chicken, man. Chicken fettuccine Alfredo.
I like specifics. You could have just said Italian, but I like
specifically chicken fettuccine Alfredo. I love me some lasagna. I like my red sauce too, but chicken fettuccine Alfredo, if you give me a quality one with mushrooms, with steamed broccoli, it's over. I'm tearing it up.
We were just joking with my producer JB earlier about how I haven't eaten yet, and I'm starving.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna eat some later today.
All right, favorite ice cream?
I'm simple on this one. Cookies and cream.
Okay,
simple.
That's fair.
Keep it simple.
Also, I mean, you can't go wrong with it.
No, man. Sometimes you ain't got to be complicated with stuff. There's just a right answer sometimes.
I know what the answer to this one's going to be. Favorite athlete?
Oh, Kobe.
Yeah.
No question.
I mean, Next. Black Mamba energy, you can't beat it. It was
I literally got him tattooed on my arm.
Incredibly tragic when he passed. And obviously his daughter, just what a legacy he has. And it's another reminder, a common theme in the Finding Good podcast will be to just cherish life while we have it and live with urgency and intentionality. And if there was anyone who lived that way, it was Kobe. So not surprised there at all. Person in history that you would have liked to have met. They can be alive now. They can be someone from the past, but somebody who you haven't met that would just change your life from the Savior Jesus Christ to Attila the Hun, whoever. Big spectrum.
Yeah, somebody who I haven't met who I would have liked to meet. Honestly, I think I would have really liked to meet Marcus Aurelius. I would have really liked to meet him, dude.
Shout out to Ryan Holiday and this daily Stoic community.
I seen that. I saw that. That's what made me think about it. I saw this when I sat down.
Ryan, if you're watching, listening, we need you in this chair at some point. Destin and I would love to interview you. I mean, just the legacy of the Stoics in general, but Marcus Aurelius specifically. I think a lot of people use his quotes to guide their life, but they haven't really examined what his life was like in the time that he lived. Great answer. What drew you to Marcus?
Man, I think what draws me to him, I researched his meditations. I really want to dive deeper into him, but you're thinking about a guy, especially at a time in the Roman Empire when you as a leader can have anything you want, to live this very stoic, very, I guess, just not being so tied to these very ephemeral, materialistic things and having this very stoic approach to things as the most powerful man in the world. That's something I really want to embody in my life, because I think it's very easy as you become wealthier and more powerful to just want more, to seek more, to want more than you already have, and to never be satisfied with what you got, and always to be just ill-content with what you have. I think this stoicism that he brings, he's just somebody who's always been very interesting to me, especially as I've studied him more. I find him just an interesting character. So he's the first guy who came to my mind. It might be because I just saw the Daily Stoic, but he's somebody who I've read some of his meditations. I think he's a really interesting dude. I would like to have a conversation with him and just understand him better. It seems interesting. I feel like I could learn a lot from a conversation with Marcus over some wine.
For the listeners and viewers that are unfamiliar with Stoic philosophy, it's rooted in 4 pillars, beginning with courage, bravery. The second one, depending on which order you're going through, is discipline or temperance. Not living lavishly, living in moderation. It's justice, making sure that things are fair and equitable for everyone, every human being that has a chance to live life. And then finally, wisdom, which comes from experience. And it seems to me that you have each of those concepts in spades. That you live a very stoic life via the Stoic philosophy.
Well, I would like to. I think there's a lot of places where I struggle because I do feel emotional about the things that happen to me. I don't get caught up in it long term. I don't let it make me make, permanent decisions, temporary problems. But, a guy who has this true stoic mentality can let anything happen to him and have this let and live feeling. He can just let it go and not get caught up in these temporary, very physical desires, temptations, or irrational emotions. And that's something I think as an entrepreneur and as a man, I think everybody should have. So I'm just really interested in studying Stoicism more and figuring out how I can bring it more into my life.
If you think about the way Marcus Aurelius lived, emperor could have anything he wants.
Yeah, you didn't have anything back then.
What I've discovered in my experiences, whether it's doing mission work in Mexico, traveling to Africa, when I was lucky to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, meeting the people that lived in Tanzania and Kenya, went to nearby Uganda, and seeing what comparatively little people have there versus here. Yeah. There's not a lot of internet access. The things that they do or entertain themselves are usually just things that are outside. But the smiles there, the smiles in Mexico, again, comparatively what we have here, we have endless stimulation from devices and activities and the online environment. But what I've found is that the more that you fill your life with that stuff, the less satisfied you become. Right. And I think it seems to me that you've found value in so many different areas. I mean, you truly are a Renaissance man. You've got this obviously very fit lifestyle where you live an active life. You are social in a very intentional way. You're not afraid to work hard, but you're also not afraid to play hard and enjoy life. You have a unique insight into art and music and film. But you're just an impressive human being, and I can't thank you enough for spending time with me today. You truly embody the finding good mentality. You're positively selfish, whether it's playing chess or just spending time in thought. It's clear you've surrounded yourself with good people, whether it was what you were born into with your mom, your girlfriend, or the team that you've assembled. It seems like you're quite adept at surrounding yourself with the best people and keeping yourself distant from those that don't add value to your life. And through whether it's the Million for Million campaign or cardio itself or any other endeavor that you do, it's clear that you have a relentless investment and desire to better the world around you. I can't thank you enough for being here. Really quick, just for listeners and viewers, can you give us the website to cardio, your social media handles, how people can learn more about it, and then, of course, how they can get involved with Million for Million?
Yeah, most definitely. So you guys can find me anywhere. Just look up Destin George Bell. I'm most active on LinkedIn, so that's obviously my name. And on Instagram, which is gfortune_500. You can find cardio at downloadcard.io. And then Million for Million will be going on through the entirety of January. You can find information for that inside the app by downloading it in the App Store. For my Android people, we're not on Android yet. We're working on it. That's what I'm using Damon and Nershawn's money for. But until we do, you can find that for my iOS folks, either on your watch or your phone at card.io. And then on the Million for Million campaign, you can find that online at 1M for 1M. So that's the number 1, letter M, the word for, FOR, and then 1M.com. 1M for 1M. Or you can find that on our social media website, information there. You'll find links to it.
Destin, my guy, Renaissance man, thank you so much for being on the Finding Good podcast.
I appreciate it, my brother. Thanks for having me.
For all of you at home, thank you for joining us today. We have a lot more episodes coming to you. Finding Good is all about being positively selfish, surrounding yourself with good people, and more than anything, leaving the world better than you found it. Hope you enjoyed this episode today. We'll see you next time.